I started by writing the year 2012 on the board. And the last year I wrote was 2023. What happened in those 11 years? They say quitters never win, but what exactly was I winning? I love to teach. I was good at it. I won plenty of awards. Outstanding first year teacher, teacher of the year, outstanding committee, and I was team lead for many years. But I still left. Welcome back to CWMUniversity, where we learn together. And today we're gonna learn why I, like many other teachers before me, have left the classroom. Let me set the background before I tell you why I stopped teaching. I always knew I wanted to work with kids. I just didn't know exactly how and what capacity. Well, my senior year of high school, I got kicked out of basketball practice. Let me explain. So basically, my senior year, we had a coach, and then at the end of our year, they got a new head coach, which was our assistant coach, and she didn't like me. So since my senior year, basically of basketball was done, she told me that I had to find something else to do. I couldn't come to practice anymore. And so I was like, find something else to do? Okay, I was cool because we didn't get along. So I ended up going to volunteer at a local elementary during basketball time. So when I was supposed to be at basketball practice, I was at the local elementary volunteering. And while I was there volunteering, I was like, this is it. I want to be a teacher. And if you want to hear more about that story, you can check out this video. I go through the ups and downs of me becoming a teacher and my first year of teaching. So check it out when you get time. But ever since I was younger, smaller kids were always attached to me. No matter where I was, the little kids just seemed to flock to me. And especially the better they were, the more they wanted to be around me, which I never really understood. This is one reason I think I was really good with classroom management, because I understood bad kids. Now in school, I wasn't bad because my parents did not play that. I could probably act up at home, but I wasn't acting like that at school. But I understood kids with behavior problems. And I still saw them like I saw any other kid. If you didn't have behavior problems or you did, you were still the same to me. I saw you for the person you were. Yes, maybe you had behavior challenges, but I love me a good little challenge. So I was always willing to work with those kids and try to figure out why exactly were you behaving the way you were. And while I was teaching, I cared about my students. And I mean cared about them. I treated them as if they were my own. And sometimes I kind of think I cared too much. When I started teaching middle school, the kids could go in and out of classes, right? So the kids could move around. And I started to realize that I had to account for every child that was in my class and make sure they actually belonged in my class. Kids will sneak in my class all the time. And I'm like, such, what are you doing in here? I don't even teach you. I would have kids I didn't even teach in my room. Like, hey, you gotta go. You're gonna be late for class and I'm not writing you a pass. Or I have you first period. It is fifth period. What are you doing in my class? So when I started teaching middle school, I had to count how many kids were in my class and scan faces to know who belonged in my class at that period. And if I didn't teach you, what are you doing in there? But the kids knew I genuinely cared about them. Now, they knew when they came in my classroom, they had to behave, but I genuinely had their best interest at heart. And they could feel it and they knew it. And leaving education was one of the hardest decisions I had to make. I didn't want to leave education. If you're a teacher, you know that your job is consistent and is guaranteed. Unless you do something outrageous, you're guaranteed to have a job. You know when you have your breaks. You know when you're supposed to be at work. It's very pow. However, I started to realize that I was miserable. And my job was affecting my day-to-day life. I remember at one point, one of my friends kept asking me, take off, let's hang out. Take off for a day. You deserve a day off. And I was appalled. What you mean take off work to hang out? Like, I need to go to work. And I was so set in this mentality that I need to go to work. You only take off work is if you have an appointment or you don't feel good. I was going to work. I wasn't taking off work to just go hang out, go do this and that. In my mind at that time, I wasn't trying to do that. It took me a long time. It probably was year 10 or 11 before I just started to take off work just because. It could have been a random Tuesday. I'm putting in for a sub. It took a very long time because I thought in my head that if I took off work, I was letting my students down. If I took off work, I was leaving them with somebody who I knew didn't know my kids and couldn't take care of my kids. I was worried about my students more than I was worried about myself. It was getting so bad that I left my all at my job. And when I got home, I had nothing for the people at home. I had nothing for my friends. I had nothing for my family. I got home and I took usually 2-hour naps because I was so exhausted. I let the job drain me and didn't leave anything for myself or others who really cared about me. For about the first 7 years, I would take work home. I would work at home. I would go home and grade papers. I would go home and make sure my Google Slides look nice for the day, or see if it's something else I could add to my lesson to make it more interesting. And I always told myself that I was working at home because I wanted to get caught up. I wanted to be ahead. But when you're trying to get ahead, there's still another month you can get ahead. And then another week you can get ahead. And then another week you can get ahead. And the next thing you know, it's summer. You never really get caught up. But I'm so like, when I get interested in something or I want to be successful at something, I get zoned in and you can't get me out of it. I'm like, I gotta do this because I want it to be great. I was so focused on trying to be ahead that I was missing out on just regular day life and spending time with people who love me and cared about me. And it took me a long time to realize that I couldn't let teaching be my personality. Because what people ask you, oh, hey, what's your name and what you do? And I was proud to say that I was a teacher. I was the first teacher in my family that I know of, especially my immediate family or my cousins. Nobody taught. So I was the first teacher, and I thought it was a big deal. So when people say, well, what's your job? I'm a teacher. I teach such and such grade, and I do X, Y, and Z. I was proud to say that I was in education. But I had to learn that I needed a life outside of work. So eventually I automated my grading where the computer was doing it for me, and I barely had to hand grade things. And then another thing I would do, I started to leave work at work. I cannot stress that enough. Don't let your job become your whole personality. You were a person before you got that job. And if you ever leave or get fired, you will be a person after that job. Don't let your job exhaust you so much that you have nothing to give to the people who matter to you the most. Leave work at work, please. And teaching is so draining because you have to be the mom, the doctor, the lawyer, the counselor. I don't know how many times I've had a teacher come get me on my break to come talk to a student outside of their classroom acting up, but they know they behave in my class. Or a student who's under a desk and won't get from under the desk, but they knew that they liked me and I can get them from under their desk. Or, can you talk to such and such because the kids say he don't act like that in your room, but in my classroom, he likes to turn my classroom upside down. So now am I only in control of the kids that's in my room? I'm trying to help other teachers give them peace in their room with the behavior students. And no, I did not have a specialty in behavior. I was a general ed teacher. After I've been at a school for so long, teachers started to realize that, hey, for her, they behave. So let's go see if we can get her to talk to them to help us get them to behave in our classroom. Being all those things, trying to figure out who stole who thing, or who stole my candy or my pens off my desk, or who was telling the truth about this, or let me hear your side. Now let me hear your side. And now I gotta be the judge about who's telling the truth and who should apologize. It gets exhausting. And a lot of people don't know that teachers just don't get up there and teach and play with kids all day. It's way more into the profession than people like to know or to consider or even ask about. They just think we're at school playing with kids all day. If it was that easy, I promise, I would probably still be teaching. And I guess some of the things that I ran into while teaching over those 11 years, I taught at 4 different schools. And we'll talk about why I moved to 4 different schools in 11 years. But over those 11 years, at some schools, there was a lack of support. The admin didn't come in and check on you. If you wasn't sending kids to the office or you didn't have major behavior problems, they thought everything was good. Or you have an instructional coach who's supposed to be really good at their job. They say they're going to do something for you and they never follow up. And I wasn't in the game of chasing people down. If you said you was going to make book lists for my class and come the time you said you was going to have it done, you don't have it done, I'm going to go do it myself. I don't have the time to chase down grown people. I'm already chasing down kids, chasing down work, calling parents, trying to figure out what's going on at home so I can figure out how to help your child. I didn't have time to do the extra. I'm going to ask you because that's your job, but I'm not going to chase you down. So the lack of support in many schools I worked at was a big thing of adding to the stress of being a teacher. And let's not get on to pay. If you watch any of my teaching videos, you know that I started teaching in Mississippi. And I'm pretty sure that I started teaching and I was getting paid around $35,000 at the time I started teaching. Now, granted, that was in 2012, but that still wasn't no money. It wasn't any money to try to get me ahead. And so me personally, I didn't mind moving. So I moved to Texas for better pay, and then I moved to several different schools in Texas for better pay. Because if I was gonna do something I love, I wanted to get paid a good amount of money for doing that. And I felt that, hey, let's go chase the bag. I can still do what I love, but I need money. I am in love with finances and about learning how to grow your money and growing my money. And so I wanted to make sure that I was able to do that. And in order to do that, I had to increase my income. And you can check out my finance playlist with all the things I've learned about finances over the years and trying to increase my income. But one of the things I knew I had to do was I had to move school districts and I had to move schools. And every time I went to a different school, I always got a pay increase. So for anybody who worked with me, I wasn't running from y'all. I promise. I was running to get more money. And another thing I think, going back to the lack of support, I feel that when you're being a teacher, a lot of times you're isolated in a classroom. You just know what's going on in your class, or if you have partner teachers, you may know some of the strategies they're using, but you don't know what's going on in their class. And so you don't get to see those great teachers seeing what they do. You don't get to see it modeled a lot of times. So if you are an admin and you have those new teachers, I'm gonna say new to 5 years, give them time to go in a classroom where there is a great teacher on your campus that has good classroom management, that is very good at teaching the topic that they're teaching, just to let them observe them. And don't make them do it on their planning period. They need that planning period. They need that planning period to plan for the rest of the week. Get somebody to go in their classroom, watch their kids for one period. You gotta have somebody that can do that. And let them go observe a class where there's a great teacher so they can see what's going on and then maybe follow up and ask questions so they can be a better teacher themselves. Because a lot of stuff that I didn't know, I went to YouTube and tried to see what other people were doing to get these concepts across to their students and where they understood them. So I want to say that my 8th year of teaching was where I really found out that I got to get out this profession. I'm stressed out. The math on my money that I was getting paid, the math wasn't mathing. And I have to find something else to do. So my 8th year of teaching, what was happening? COVID. 2020 changed everything for me. I was terrified. COVID terrified me. You can ask anybody who knows me personally how I behaved during COVID. I was terrified. And I was so terrified because there was so many people dying. I knew people personally who died from COVID. And I didn't want COVID to get me or get my family, even though some of them still got COVID and they made it through, thank God. But COVID terrified me. When COVID was coming around, they made us go home for teaching. Everybody was at home, and if the kids could get on, they could get on. If they couldn't, you know, it is what it is. But the following school year, we had to go back. And what was happening is a lot of professions, they were still staying at home, working remote. But for the school district I was working at, we had to go back in the classroom. And I was terrified. It made me feel that they didn't care about us. They just wanted those dollars back. And how to get dollars is the kids inside the classroom. And the only way the kids can be inside the classroom is if the teachers were there with them. Now, there was plenty of districts across the nation that did not have to go back in the classroom right off after COVID. They stayed at home. They made it work. They had got technology for their students so they can work from home. They stopped us from going to school in March. So there's March, April, May. Then next August, we was back in the classroom. Back in the classroom with our mask on. And I was telling my mom that a lot of my kids, if I saw them out without their mask, I would have known who they were. Because I always saw people was from there up. So I only knew you by your eyes. So if you took the mask off, I didn't know what you looked like. And at that point, I knew that I had to do something different. I had to make sure I had options all the time. Because I didn't have the option to not go to work. I didn't have my savings account built up enough where I didn't have to work. And I wish I did, because if I had enough money in my savings when COVID happened, I wouldn't have went back into teaching. I wouldn't have put myself at that risk. And so when 2020 happened, that's when I started to aggressively save, because I knew that I had to look out for myself and I had to stop being a teacher. Because the school districts are not going to put the teachers first. They're going to put their bottom line first. And so 2020 started, that's when I started to like aggressively save and put money in my high yield savings account and do some other things investment wise, because I knew that I did not want to be in that predicament anymore. And I knew I needed to do something that wasn't going to stress me out. I needed something that I could go to work, leave work at work, and still be who I am outside of teaching. I had given so much to this profession and I felt like I was getting nothing in return. There was nothing positively happening in my personal life that came from my job. Even the money was low. So I had plenty of part-time jobs through teaching just to try to make sure that I wasn't struggling, because I did not want to live paycheck to paycheck. So I got multiple paychecks to make sure that I had enough income to cover my bills and was able to save, because saving has always been important to me. But 2020, that's when I started saving crazily, because I had to have an exit plan. So now we're down to the part of my last school year. My last school year was, I don't know if it was rougher than my first year, but it was tough for me. I already knew that I talked to God about this. I was like, I gotta go. So 2020, that's when the Lord put on my heart that I need to start saving my money aggressively if I wanted to leave teaching. And my last year, I was fighting the battle of wanting to leave, but also wanting to stay. And when it's time for you to leave and you know you've been told that you need to leave and you try to stay, it's gonna get interesting. My last year was interesting for me. Team lead for my math team at that time. And I also had the worst schedule out of me and my teammates, which is crazy to me, because if I'm team lead, I've been at this school for several years, why do I have the worst schedule? And let me tell you what I mean by the worst schedule. I had on-level math and the strategies class. And for those who are not teachers, strategies class is when they have, what do we call it, math strategies. So you have the students who scored lower in math and they need extra help. So these students get math twice a day. Can you imagine not liking math and having to go to math class twice a day? When you have those type of classes where the students have math twice a day, those classes usually come with the behaviors. Because those students are acting a plump fool because they don't want to be in there. They don't even like the subject. So the majority of my last year, I dealt with behavior after behavior after behavior, because I had the on-level class and the class below on-level. So I had a lot of behavior problems. Now, I had great classroom management, but my last year, I was skating on thin ice. As much as I could give to students and like being patient with them and just working through their problems until we got to the point where we was on the same understanding level and they behaved in my class, my patience, my last year was this thin. I didn't have any. I was already trying my best to make sure that my team was on point, that we could work together as a team. And then I had the worst schedule. It was just thing after thing that was working against me. And being that stressed out with that type of schedule I had, I started getting sick. And I'm not the type that just get sick all the time. You know, you get a cold here or there, but I didn't get sick. I would go home, I would sleep and be sleeping until the next day. I was barely making it to school. And it was so crazy because I don't even feel like nobody at school knew this. Maybe April, May, they probably started realizing it. But that whole year, I was struggling. And granted, I did have some good teammates that helped try to pull the weight off of me. But it was a struggle that year. And it just seemed like that year, too, when new kids would come and they'll be in somebody else's math class and then they'll find out their behavior problem. Then somehow they end up in my class. Why do I get all the kids with behavior problems? I mean, granted, yes, I had the patience for them. I had the passion for them. But that last year, they were just piling on till it just came to a breaking point that I decided I was not going to take anymore. I probably should have left teaching a year or two before I actually left. It was an internal struggle to either lead teaching or not lead teaching, to lead teaching and not lead teaching, because I love teaching so much and I love making a difference in kids' lives so much. I didn't want to lead it, but I had to choose me. Hindsight, I could have went to my admin and told them, hey, this is not fair. There's no way I'm the team lead and I already have the responsibilities of everything a team leader has to do. And then I have all the behavior kids. Now, granted, I didn't have every single one of them. That was impossible. My other teammates did have to work with some students who had behavior issues, but I had a lot of them. I have to do what a team leader is supposed to do to be a good team leader. Deal with all these behaviors. I should have went to my admin and say, hey, some of these kids, y'all gotta move. Or I need a better schedule. Give me an advanced class to give me a breather between dealing with kids who hate math that I gotta teach to learn math and to deal with the students who had behavior issues. I should have went and asked for help. And that's something I could have did a better job at, but I didn't. Because I'm not the type to go ask for help. Like I said earlier, I'm gonna do it myself. Another thing that helped me realize that it was time for me to leave teaching, the show Abbott Elementary was out. And people was like, saying it was a good show for teachers to watch and it was very relatable. And I started watching the show and I could never really finish an episode because it was so triggering for me. Let me know in the comments if you're a teacher or if you used to be a teacher and you understand what I'm saying. Like, those episodes were very triggering for me. Even after I stopped teaching, it was a long time before I could sit down and enjoy Abbott Elementary. I love the show now. I watch it and kiki all the time. But it was a while before I could watch it. Even after I stopped teaching, I want to say it was about probably a year and a half. And I was watching some random show on one of the subscriptions. I don't know. And they were at a school and the teachers were yelling at kids to get in line. And my heart started beating fast. I had to turn it off immediately. I seriously believe I had PTSD from being a teacher. And it took a while after me stopped teaching that I could enjoy those shows or laugh at it or relate to it, because I was that stressed out when I left teaching. I taught for 11 years. So of course, there's some things that I learned as a teacher that I want others to know that can possibly help them have a better experience than I did. Empathy. Put yourself in those students' shoes. Before you get to yelling at them, talking down on them, try to see the problem from their perspective. Secondly, pick your battles. Pick your battles. Everything does not need to turn into an argument. Personally, have I argued with kids? Yes. Should I have done that? No. But I tried every day to pick my battles and not argue with kids and not try to make them see things from my perspective. I try to put myself in their shoes to see, you know what? If I was a 12-year-old, I would be feeling the same way. Or if I was a 10-year-old, I get why you feel like that's not fair. And I try to find out different ways in my classroom to get students to understand what is and is not fair. I also made a video of it because I know how important it is for a child to understand the difference between equality and equity. So try to see things from the student's perspective, pick your struggles, and leave work at work. It'll be there tomorrow. Leave work at work, please. And keep in mind that parents can make or break a student's success. So starting off early, communicating with those parents is very vital. Letting them know consistently what's going on in your classroom. And if the student is struggling, start early by contacting that parent and letting them know what's going on. And y'all working together as a team to make sure that student is being successful. Sometimes parents are busy. They might have several jobs and they may have several kids. So you're like, if I was a parent, I would know this about my child. The reality is you're not that child's parent and you don't know what that child goes home to. So do your part as a teacher and at least reach out to the parent and try to build that team effort. Because when the parent's on your side, that child's gonna be successful because you want them to be successful, that parent wants them to be successful, and both of y'all are gonna get that student to believe that they can be successful. So it's very important to make sure that you involve the parents in their child's education. Don't let teaching become your whole personality. Whatever you love to do at home or before you became a teacher, don't give those hobbies up. If you're a crocheter, keep crocheting. If you like to run, keep running. Do not forget your happy place. Don't give that up for your job. If you are on a teacher's salary, a lot of times it is low. A lot of times you have to either coach or get other part-time jobs. Be aware of your finances. Make sure that you're saving money so you will have options. If you don't like the school that you're working in, look at other school districts. They probably pay better. Go try them out. All you can do is get over there and hate it, stay there for a year, and move somewhere else. But make sure that you have your finances in order so you have options. Because the more money you have, the more options you have. Another thing I wish I would have done when I was teaching was be more intentional about reflecting on my day and just putting down the things that I accomplished at each school. Because the year that I became the teacher of the year, I did a lot of stuff that year to better my students' experience with school and to help the staff have a better experience with school. And I wish I would have, in detail, wrote those things down. So whenever I went to another school to apply or to interview, I had everything sitting down in front of me and I wasn't like, ooh, what did I do? Or what did we call it? Or exactly how did we start that process? I would have had those things in type of journal or something like that to reflect on it. So since I've stopped teaching, there's a lot of things I've been able to sit down and sit with to create for teachers to make their lives a little easier. If you can check out this site right here, I created a 9 weeks reflective journal where you can reflect on how you feeling today. Was today a good day? If it wasn't a good day, what can you change to make it a good day? And you can reflect every day for 9 weeks. And at the end of the week, it asks you questions about what, did you do anything to make your life easier? Did you create a spreadsheet that was easier to keep up with the students' IEPs? What have you created to make your life easier so you can have it for later? So if you want to check out this journal right here, this is a site that you can go to and look at it. So if you are currently a teacher, let me know in the comments. Or if you were a teacher or you left teaching, let me know, why did you leave teaching? What's that one last straw that was like, yep, I gotta go? And a little later, because I know you like, oh, right now it's 2026. She said she left teaching in 2023. What has she been doing? I am going to make a video about what I've been doing since I left teaching. So make sure that you're subscribed to my channel and you turn on your notification for my channel so you'll know when I drop that video. Because yes, I have been doing something, but it hasn't been teaching. Finally, I know that at some point, some kids that I've taught in the past are going to find this video. So I want to talk directly to them. So to my past students, I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to teach you and to love on you as if I were your mom, because I was your school mom. So I want to say thank you for that. You made my 11 years in teaching worth it. Some of y'all gave me the run for my money. You kept me on my toes, but you kept my days interesting. So thank you for being my students. I miss y'all. I hope y'all are doing well. And that's that. It took me a very long time to make this video. I knew I wanted to make the video and I wanted to share my experience about being a teacher and things that I've learned. And I hope that it will help other teachers, maybe that you're still teaching and you want to continue in the profession, and some things that you could do. There's other videos also on my channel geared towards teachers and to help you be a successful teacher. I also offer one-on-one coaching for teachers who want to get help with their classroom management and help with the way they communicate with parents or how to build those relationships with students. You can check that out on my site as well. But I hope this video encourages a teacher to take their life back, leave work at work, and not forget who they are. Also, shout out to our educators, the ones that's still out there in the mud, getting it and taking care of our babies. All I ask is you please treat them well, use empathy, and give our babies some grace. You may be the only light they see in their lives every day. Thank you for taking your time out to watch this video. And you already know, until next time,